In the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. You are locked in on the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to dive into all Alabama talk as we are going to be joined by Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith to get his take on the new hire right here of Kellen DeBoer from the University of Alabama and what to expect moving forward. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show. Guys, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get things rocking and rolling here on the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9. With the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. And Heath, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show right here on Tide 100.9. And Heath, I know you don't like talking about it, but buddy, did you brave the cold weather that started earlier this week?
I don't mind talking about it. I just hate cold weather. It's miserable. I'm actually looking out my window now. There's just snow everywhere, man. Yeah. You know, it's funny, Steven. Back on Sunday, they told us that they told us all weekend that the snow would not be here till Monday, and then they backed it up till Sunday. Yeah. They said, but it won't start till after sundown, and then they said it'll start around 6. And then they said it's going to start around 3, and then it started at noon. And I was like, we didn't see this coming in, and yeah, so I mean, there was snow on the roads by noon, by 3 o'clock. Yeah, it was just crazy. So, you know, the holiday weekend, the Martin Luther King weekend was there. So, you know, the kids are out of school, but man, we're going to be out of school for several days up here in the Memphis area. There is Snowmageddon, Wintry Death 2024. I mean, that's what it is. Everyone's freaking out up here.
So, Heath, with it being cold weather, and for anybody that likes a good drink after work or to have fun, today is your day, my friend. On the national day of today, it is National Bootleggers Day, and it is also National Hot Buttered Rum Day. So alcoholics, go on ahead and take part in what today is, National Bootlegger Day, and National Hot Buttered Rum Day.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever had hot buttered rum.
Don't think I have either.
All right.
But I will tell you, down here in the South, something that is very popular is a rum cake. Dude, that stuff is so bitter to me. I absolutely cannot stand a rum cake. What about you?
Rum cake's not my favorite. I don't hate on it, though. If I got another option, I'll probably choose the other option. But I don't dislike a rum cake at all. All right, Stephen, fun question. Who's your favorite bootlegger?
Oh, I don't know. Jack Daniels, I guess. I don't know. That's the first one that popped into my mind, man. I don't know. Jack Daniels, I guess he's the most popular. I don't know.
I was going to go with Bo and Luke Duke from Hazard County, Georgia.
Yeah.
Not Coy and Vance. I thought you were a Coy and Vance kind of guy. No, I'm making jokes there about Dukes of Hazzard. National Bootlegger Day. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So, Heath, I do want to go back to the weekend on Saturday and, of course, on Sunday, because unfortunately, on Saturday and Sunday, it was the wild card weekend, but there was only one decent football game out of all of those games on the weekend slate, and that good game was Detroit versus the Rams, and Detroit got their first playoff win since 1991. Let me say that again. The Detroit Lions got their first playoff win on Sunday for the first time since 1991. That is absolutely incredible what the Detroit Lions have done in revamping that football team up there in Detroit.
Stephen, what were you doing in 1991?
I was 3 years old, bro. I have no idea.
Well, I was a freshman in high school.
Yep.
Gas was under $1. That was premium. You could get premium for like 97 cents, 99 cents.
And Heath, let me just go ahead and say this too. They threw up a graphic on Sunday night when that game was going on. The head coach of the Detroit Lions, the last time they won a playoff game was 15 years old.
Well, that would make us close to the same age. So, yes. Yeah, because I was a freshman in high school. So, crazy. Yes. He's probably about a year older than me. He's probably about a year old. Wow, that's crazy. Man, I'm trying to think of what was going on in 1991, man. You know what? I remember this. Oh, gosh, I remember this so well. The big song of 1991. Are you ready for it?
Go.
Ice, Ice, Baby by Vanilla Ice.
Yep.
That's how long we're talking about since the Detroit Lions won a game.
In the playoffs.
Rock and roll was still around. Rap music was dead. Everyone said that rap was just a flash in a pan and it would never come back. And look how wrong we were on that. Van Halen was still together with Sammy Hagar, and they were kind of the biggest rock group in the world at the time. Think how much the world has changed. Look, 1991, let's see. George Herbert Walker Bush is your president, running for re-election against a governor from Arkansas named Bill Clinton.
Yes.
So the Detroit Lions won their first game since George Herbert Walker Bush. Not W, not the son, the dad.
Yes.
That's how long it has been since the Lions won a game. I'm trying to think what the big movie was in 1991.
No clue.
I'll try to figure that out.
And Heath, no matter what year it is, the same thing always happens, man. The Dallas Cowboys go on ahead and choke in the playoff. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a situation there, man. There is a situation there. I didn't really think it was a big deal. It's obviously a massive deal.
Yeah.
I was just like, they've just run into some bad luck, this and that. There's something going on with that organization. There's been one consistent with that organization, Stephen, since, them doing much. There's been one consistent, and that consistent is Jerry Jones.
So, Heath, on that note, we got to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to transition into all Alabama talk with Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with all Roll Tide talk.
Silence of the Lambs, Terminator 2, your big movies of 1991.
Nice.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
The extreme cold and ice of the last few days has created problems for public works and first responders. It's taken a combination of ALEA, state troopers, ALADOT, and mobile support teams from the Alabama National Guard to respond to the issues the ice and cold weather has created. Alabama star freshman safety Caleb Downs plans to enter the transfer portal. Downs, who won the SEC Freshman of the Year award, was one of the Tide's best defenders in his freshman season, finishing the year with over 100 total tackles and 2 interceptions. For these stories and more, log on to TuscaloosaThread.com.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters.
Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Do you guys have a lake or pond that you own but you don't know your fish population? Then you need to contact Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa County, because they offer fish population analysis to give you a detailed look at how many fish you have in your pond or lake. They can also help you build the pond or lake of your dreams. Contact Honey Hole Fisheries and Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192 and let Honey Hole Fisheries design or create the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And now we are about to get to our very special guest to talk all things Crimson Tide with the new hire, and then, of course, the retirement of one of the greatest coaches of all time, Coach Nick Saban. And in order to do that, we are about to be joined by none other than Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. Stephen, how are you doing, man? And have things finally calmed down for you?
Doing great, Stingray. Have things calmed down? Not necessarily. I mean, of course, it's the off season, but when it's college football, primarily Alabama football, there is never truly a real off season. There is always stuff that's going around the landscape.
Yes. So, Stephen, what ultimately, in your opinion, do you think made Coach Saban ultimately retire?
I think it's a couple of things, but I think the main thing is him understanding this is a whole different age of college football than when he first came in 2007. When he first came in 2007, Saban was trying to build something at Alabama. Mm-hmm. Alabama had slipped from the national championship mystique of the Bear Bryants, the Gene Stallings, guys of that nature. And Saban was trying to bring that mystique back, and he did it in a way to where bringing in players that understood the tough, hard-nosed coaching, getting after you a little bit. There was no NIL. There was no transfer portal. There was no different distractions. It was trying to create and build a culture that, the players the university, most importantly, the fan base could be absolutely proud of. And nowadays, in this new age of college football, you really have to cater to these young men, whether it's NIL, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's you got to promise me something. And Saban, being an old school coach, he kind of understood this is now a young man's game, and not just a young man's game from that aspect, but a young man's game in terms of manipulating this NIL, manipulating this transfer portal, manipulating a lot of things. And it's different now for Saban at 72 than what he was when he first came in at between 56 and 58 years old. A lot has changed. And Saban got the understanding, of that. Another thing would be, Saban has always said, if I reach a point to where I can't affect these kids the way I used to, and I feel like I'm dragging the program down, I will step to the side or I will step away. And not saying that Saban dragging the program down, absolutely not. But he felt that maybe I'm not having the same grip that I had, years ago. Not saying that he wasn't recruited at a high level because he was. Not saying that he wasn't coaching at a high level because he was. But you know how when you were younger, your parents gave you that look. And when they gave you that look, like you got back in line, you got back right. And so as you get older, your parents may give you that look. That look may not have the same effect anymore because you've gotten older. It's the same thing with Coach Saban. Coach Saban had a way of giving you that look of fear, and players could get back in line. Nowadays, with this completely different type of athlete, it's different. So Saban recognizing, hey, it's a young man's game. Hey, I can't do the same measure of stuff that I used to. And even though it's never a good time to walk away, he picked the right moment.
So, Stephen, now that unfortunately the era of Coach Saban at Alabama is over, I'm going to put you on the spot, but this is going to be a fun question for you. Looking back over all of the quarterbacks that Nick Saban had at the University of Alabama, in your opinion, who is the best one under Coach Saban at quarterback here in Tuscaloosa?
I'm going to go Tua Tagovailoa. Tua made you think about Bama different.
Yes.
The way he could throw the football, the way he could distribute and pass the ball accurately, how receivers felt around Tua, how the program felt about Tua. Tua had this type of leadership and ability with the gift that he had passing the football. The only downside was if Tua never got hurt in 2019, how different that season could have been. That could have been a national championship season if Tua doesn't get hurt in 2019. But just the way that young man could just really throw the football and how different he transformed Alabama's offense and how different he made people feel and talk about the Alabama football program. Yes, absolutely. To me, Tua Tagovailoa.
Gotcha. Okay, so with the coaching hire, who was basic? Now, we know that DeBoer ultimately got the job, but who were some other candidates out there that really looked at this job before ultimately they settled on Coach DeBoer?
I'll say this. Alabama was really looking at Dan Lanning. I know there were reports that he wasn't actually really in Tuscaloosa, but Alabama was really looking at Dan Lanning. Alabama was really looking at Steve Sarkisian.
Right.
That was a thought right there. I know Mike Norvell's name was tossed in. Was he really being looked at? I'm not sure. Some say he was, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe Lane Kiffin was really looked at. But I believe ultimately, and you got to give Jimmy Sexton a lot of credit. That is the godfather of college football.
Yeah.
You got to really give Money Sign Jimmy a lot of credit. When Money Sign Jimmy pulled up in Tuscaloosa the Thursday following the Wednesday that Saban announced his retirement, I knew something was up. When Jimmy Sexton landed and walked in that office, I'm like, here comes the godfather. He's going to put some pieces in motion. And Jimmy Sexton put pieces in motion scaring folks, having folks leak stuff out, folks getting paid. Like Jimmy got Mike Norvell paid quick, got Dan Lanning paid quick, got Steve Sarkisian paid quick, had folks backing out left and right. And for Sexton to have his chess piece, Kalen DeBoer, which DeBoer changed the agents to Jimmy Sexton. Right. And so the fact that DeBoer changed agents and Jimmy was able to move all the chess pieces around the table just to get his guy DeBoer into the seat to succeed Nick Saban. Right. What a masterclass job by Jimmy Sexton.
How do you feel like that the DeBoer era here at the capstone will do?
I ultimately think Stingray, it's going to do well. I think it's going to. Alabama got a real coach. I got a chance to speak with him Saturday last week at his introductory press conference. The confidence he spoke with, the clarity he spoke with, the transparency he spoke with. He understands this is the SEC, and we got to do things differently than what we did at Washington in the Pac-12. But the way he relates to players, the way he genuinely cares about people, I'm excited. I think the one thing he's got to do, he's got to keep some current coaches on staff with SEC ties to recruit the South. Because let's be honest, DeBoer has never been in the South. So he's got to recruit these kids, these young men that they don't know him. So he's got to keep coaches with SEC ties to recruit the South. And he's done that he's expected to retain Freddie Roach on staff, which is huge. He's expected to retain Robert Gillespie on staff, which is huge. So Coach DeBoer bringing his offensive staff with him from Washington, that's the fun. Because you got the OC in here, Ryan Grubb. You got the wide receivers coach / associate head coach Jamarcus Shepard in here. What he did for those wide receivers at Washington, having Coach Shep is going to be fantastic. You got Coach Scott Huff in here as your offensive line coach, having Washington win the Joe Moore Award this past season. So DeBoer bringing his offensive staff in, that's going to be very exciting. Yes. The big thing for him, as I mentioned, keeping some coaches on staff with SEC ties that can recruit the South. I think if he does that, which he's already retaining Freddie Roach and Robert Gillespie, looking forward to seeing if Alabama can get back to Travaris Robinson. They're able to get those pieces in play. This is going to be real good here for Kalen DeBoer.
So, Stephen, hold that thought because we're up against another break. And when we come back, we are going to dive further into Coach DeBoer and talk about Alabama's incredible start in SEC play in basketball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, right here in Tuscaloosa. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698. 698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show.
Welcome back, college football fans. This is your favorite SEC show here on Tide 100.9. I'm Heath Hopkins. As always, Stephen Ray. Stingray's with us. And our special guest today, Stephen Smith. Stephen, I have got to ask, when is the first time you heard any kind of rumblings of Coach Saban retiring? Because after the fact, we've heard things that there were some things being said during the summer. They kind of died down. They picked back up in late October. And then they kind of died down. And then we started hearing things were brewing more and more leading up to the Iron Bowl and after the Iron Bowl. When did you start hearing things, and when did it start getting traction?
I started hearing things, guys, back in June.
Okay.
Back in June, I started hearing things like you mentioned. It died down about July, August, and then around October, it started to pick back up. It died down, November, December, after the SEC championship, and then early this month, that's when the steam really started to hit the fan of he could really walk away, or he could really step to the side. That's when it really started to hit the fan. And for me, I didn't think it would happen because he's such in good health. Looking at him, he's such in good health. You saw how he took a team this past season that overachieved, especially after a Week 2 loss to Texas, a struggle victory Week 3 against South Florida. It was tough moments. It was a full grinder, but you saw he still had some fire there. Perfect health. You thought that he would want to come back because he had the third year in the series go by without a national championship. And when you looked at, the four guys from this 2021 class without a championship so far that pursued the draft, you can look at J.C. Latham, Dallas Turner, Kumate McKinstry, and Terrion Arnold, all former five-star recruits who came in. All five guys, all 4 to 5 guys that will look at being first-round picks here in the upcoming NFL draft. Those guys, no national championship. And so I'm feeling Coach Saban wants to come back, to get that championship. But, it really started to pick up steam late December, early January that he could really, truly step away from this thing. And the day he announced retirement, Wednesday of last week, I'm driving the Chick-fil-A, literally driving the Chick-fil-A. And at 4:00 in the evening, I get the news to my phone. I'm like, oh, geez, I got to pull over, do a video, and I'm looking at, in my mind going, Nick, Terry, you couldn't have sent me a text message? Let me know before it happens instead of dropping the bombshell on me as I'm on my way to Chick-fil-A, but it's all right.
When you heard things back in June, what did you hear? What I heard was this is the season he is going to retire. He will retire after the season. That's what I was hearing. He will retire after the season. It's starting to get to him. This new age of college football, this NIL starting to get to him. This transfer portal starting to get to him. This is not the same type of athlete he's used to being around. He's used to coaching. It's starting to kind of affect him now. I was starting to hear that back in June. All of this new stuff that is upon college football, it's starting to affect him now.
So, Stephen, I do want to ask you this, talking about college football as a whole. Obviously, Alabama lost to Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and I'm sure you were out there covering that game. For someone who has not had the opportunity to cover a game at the iconic Rose Bowl Stadium, what is that experience like, in your opinion, please?
Now I wasn't there, but
Okay.
our CEO of TDA was.
Okay.
And our photographer was also, and just coming from them, being out there in Pasadena, that there's nothing like it. I mean, the Rose Bowl, the iconicness of it, the mystique of it, it is truly the granddaddy of all of them.
Yeah.
Like everybody that's there, like having that place near Los Angeles, having that place near right at Disneyland, having that place where there's so much attraction, but then there's distraction at the same time. And you have to be able to filter out the distractions. And for the Alabama team this past season, that was hard for them to do because you had so much going on. And I think the distractions kind of got to a lot of those guys. Because if you look at the game itself on the field, Michigan came out with a bit more intensity. They came out with a bit more energy. They came out with a bit more focus. And Alabama couldn't quite match that the way it wanted to. And then also a lot of self-inflicting mistakes from that game. Bad snaps from that game. Offensive line play from that game was not at its best. Defensively, Kevin still did a good job, especially in the second half, but there were still moments where we didn't flow to the ball defensively the way Alabama needed to. There were some plays where Blake Corum got some big runs. There were plays where J.J. McCarthy was able to hit the edge on some runs. There were plays where, Bama just didn't finish in terms of getting home and sacking McCarthy. And there were plays where, Alabama's defense didn't time the jumps properly in order to break up passes, or if you were trying to get an interception, be in the right spot. Just a lot of self-inflicting mistakes there in that game.
Looking at the whole situation, moving to where we are now, moving forward and to where we are now, what were some names out there that were never considered? We heard Lane Kiffin never got a sniff about becoming head coach. We heard that, it was basically a two-pony race. But we're a third option there. We know that Lanning didn't accept the job. Do you know why? We heard that Kiffin was never sniffed. Do we know why? Was Sark ever contacted? Did Sark ever interview? Did DeBoer, was he just so amazing? We're like, hey, we're shutting this down now. What did you hear as far as the process?
Well, as far as the process is concerned, Lanning was considered. There were reports that he was actually in Tuscaloosa. He was not. So that was that right there. There were rumblings that Mike Norvell was considered, and Alabama was really pushing after him out of Florida State. Was that really the case? I don't think so, but that was a lot of the rumblings that I heard. But Norvell, of course, got paid to remain at Florida State. There were even rumblings of Michael Knoxley at Maryland being involved, but he was not. He was not one of the centerpiece names. He was kind of on the outside looking in. Same thing with Tommy Rees. Somebody threw Tommy Rees's name out there. I'm like, there's no way that Tommy Rees is being considered for this right now, which he was absolutely not. So there were different names out there, but I think what made DeBoer stand out, and this is according to Greg Byrne, DeBoer wanted to be the guy to succeed Nick Saban. He wanted the challenge. And when you heard him talk, when I heard him talk Saturday of last week at the introductory press conference, he talked about this was the only place I was going to leave Washington for. And it took a lot for him to hold back tears. DeBoer was actually about to cry when he mentioned that. He saved all of the emotion to the end because he loved Washington. He loved the program he had built there, how he had turned it around. He loved the genuineness of what he was trying to do there with those guys. But he mentioned, hey, this was the only place. If I had to pack up my stuff and leave the Pacific Northwest, this was the spot I was going to do it. He says, I know what Alabama football is about. I have tremendous respect for this program in the SEC. and Greg Byrne and Coach Saban, this was the program that I was going to leave Washington for. And just the way, it was not the fact that he just blew people away in the introductory press conference, but just the energy, the calmness, the confidence, which he spoke, and the sincerity. Yeah. That's also the sincerity of what he spoke with. He really wants to be here.
So, Stephen, hold that thought because we're up against our final break. And when we come back, we are going to continue to talk about football and get to college basketball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their #1 priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Tagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Tagler, 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Tagler today to live where you love in the state of Alabama, even in the Rocket City of Huntsville. How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama.
Day.
Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. Welcome back inside of our final segment right here on the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And Stephen, I want to jump off of Alabama just for a second and talk about a former player for the Crimson Tide who is now a head coach in the NFL. I'm talking about Mr. DeMeco Ryans down at the Houston Texans. Stephen, would you please give us your thoughts on his first season down there at Houston, and how far do you think that team can go in the playoffs?
So proud of Miko. So proud of what he has accomplished as a first-year head coach. I mean, he was in a tough spot, in a tough organization that's kind of dysfunctional at times.
Yes.
Yes, he played for the Houston Texans as a player, but to become a head coach at the team that first drafted you to play pro ball and to be a defensive coach in an offensive league, that's tough. Because he was tasked with, you got to get C.J. Stroud to work. You got to get a lot of these pieces to work. Yeah. And for what he's done, got this team in the playoffs. They're playing with high energy, won their first playoff game Saturday. Now they got a chance to make a deep run here. Got this defense playing well. He's got Will Anderson playing on fire. and not just Will, but Christian Harris and all of those guys that came from the University of Alabama. I think D'Amico could get to the AFC Championship game. He could get right there. I don't see a Super Bowl for Houston right now. I don't see a Super Bowl appearance for Houston right now, but I think D'Amico will get this team to an AFC Championship game, and a lot of people in that area are going to be like, we got a coach that at some point could get us a Super Bowl. But I am so proud of what he's done.
You know, Stephen, looking at Alabama and moving forward with football, what are the biggest concerns should we have as fans? What should be the biggest concern moving forward with a new coach, a new regime, a new thought process, a new process? What's the biggest concern moving forward?
I think the biggest concern is you do not try to compare him to Coach Saban.
Right.
That's the biggest concern, because that's what every fan subconsciously is going to do. After 17 years of excellence with Nick Saban, and you saw it from start to finish, you look at Kalen DeBoer, the first question people are going to ask, well, he doesn't do this like Saban. Well, he doesn't eat oatmeal cream pies like Saban. Well, he doesn't go through his process like Saban. Well, Saban wouldn't have done it like he's not Coach Saban. There will not be another Coach Saban. You're going to have Kalen DeBoer do this his way. It may take a year or two.
Yep.
Now, fortunately for him, if nobody else hits the transfer portal, because you got a couple of kids already in this portal, for that reason being, you know, with Saban not coaching anymore, they look at, well, if it's not Coach Saban coaching, if it's not Coach Saban with the whistle around his neck and the straw hat on chewing me out, then why should I be here? You got some people with that mentality, and you can't blame him for having that mentality. But if DeBoer can keep more, if DeBoer can keep more, some of these kids from not hitting the portal, you got a championship roster to possibly do some big things this year. You got 4 quarterbacks on your roster. You got 3 of your top 5 running backs back. You got 3 of your veteran offensive linemen coming back. You got some receivers. I know you lost Bond to the portal and Shaz Preston to the portal, and you're losing Jermaine Burton to the NFL draft, but you got Kendrick Law coming back. You got Kobe Prentice coming back. You got Emmanuel Henderson coming back. You got some talent coming back. You got all of your tight ends, with the exception of Nyblack and Miles Kitselman in the portal. And defensively, you got some dudes also. Malachi Moore is back. Deontay Lawson's back. You got some dudes back. If you can keep your main core guys within the fold, you got a roster that could really do some stuff. But the biggest concern here is, don't sit there and compare this man to Coach Saban. You cannot do that. You let this guy be him and buy into what his philosophy is going to be. Because offensively, with his staff, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun with his offensive philosophy.
So, Stephen, let's talk about another sport right here in Tuscaloosa that is on fire right now. I'm talking about the Alabama men's basketball team, who sit here with a record of 11-5 in the overall standings, and they are atop of the SEC that has come into the start of this season. Go on ahead and give us your thoughts on this Alabama basketball team, and how far and how deep of a run do you think Nate Oates' squad could go this year?
I'll say this. I mean, this team has found its footing. It's starting to find it. I mean, earlier this season, had some tough losses there, including one to Creighton. That was a tough one right there. But this team is starting to find its footing. Me personally, I would have loved to have seen Charles Bediako not turn pro. I would have loved to have seen him come back as the rim protector, the young man at 7'1", but Chucky decided to go pro, and can't fault him for that. You know, I would have loved to have seen Javon Quinterly stick around. He decided to go in the portal, and now he's at Memphis. But what a job Coach Oates has done with when Mark Sears plays what he plays, when he's knocking down shots, that guy's special. And I really like Mark Sears. You look at Rylan Griffin. When Rylan Griffin and Mark Sears are on, this could be a Final Four team when those guys are on.
Yes.
This could be a Final Four team. So Sears, Griffin, Estrada, Grant Nelson, these guys have got to continue to play complementary ball. If they can do that, if Mark Sears can continue to give you 20 to 25 a night and have Riley and Griffin continue to back him up, this team can make a serious run at the Final Four. They really can. It started off a little rocky, but I think Nate Oates has finally got the footing going with this group. They just got to continue to play complimentary ball, especially on the defensive end where they've gotten stronger. But offensively, Sears and Griffin, if they can keep teeing off on this clip, this team can make it go.
Okay, Stephen, my final question for you is this, and it is about college basketball here at Alabama. 1 week from tonight, on January the 24th, it is the first game of 2024 between Nate Oates versus Bruce Pearl. Alabama hosts Auburn. Give us your early preview of that monumental basketball game at Coleman a week from tonight.
Oh, it's going to be huge. It is going to be huge. I mean, Pearl's got this Auburn team going. It's going to be huge. That place is going to be packed out. I'm pretty sure Kalen DeBoer is going to be there, sitting down, watching this game instead of Coleman. I think it's going to literally come down to the play of not just Alabama's guards, but Alabama's interior paint presence. Because Auburn's going to love the kick and drive. They're going to love to try to attack the basket, try to get easy buckets in the paint. Alabama's paint presence, but most importantly, the guard play. Can Sears and Griffin shoot them out of the building? That's going to be the big thing here.
So, Stephen, look, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us. And if you would, go on ahead and let all of the Tide listeners know where they can follow you and catch up with your stuff.
Oh, absolutely. They can follow me at touchdownalabama.com. That is touchdownalabama.com, where we are clocking your entire Crimson Tide football program. The news ever since Kalen DeBoer stepped off the plane Friday night of last week. It has not stopped. People are asking question after question after question about how is this going to look. My main thing is this will be the biggest A-Day ticket in a long time. Yeah. A-Day is going to be packed out from row to row. So this will be the most highly anticipated spring we have had in quite some time because everything is going to be so new. But touchdownalabama.com is where you can find all the information.
So, Stephen, look, man, be safe out there and obviously enjoy this new transition. And we will catch up later on in the season to talk more Alabama football and more Alabama basketball.
I appreciate y'all, man. This is cool.
So, Heath, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Stingray Show. We hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed it, talking all things Alabama with Stephen M. Smith. We will be back tomorrow evening with another preview of SEC basketball for the weekend ahead with Chris Lee. See you guys tomorrow night right back here on the Stingray Show.